The blade hummed against Zira's thigh as she moved through the marble corridor. Every step brought her closer to the target. Every breath counted down to the moment she would fulfill her orders and cement her legacy as the Krev Empire's most efficient killer. Queen Elena of Earth would die tonight, and with her humanity's resistance to the Empire's expansion would crumble. Security was laughable. The humans trusted their diplomatic protocols, their treaties, their naive belief that words on paper meant something in the galaxy's darker corners. Zira had walked past 3 checkpoints with forged credentials and a smile that never reached her eyes. Now she stood outside the private chamber where Elena had retreated after the summit's evening session. The door wasn't even locked. Zira stepped inside and sealed it behind her. The room was smaller than expected, lined with books and star charts. At the far end, silhouetted against a window overlooking the city lights, stood the woman who had cost the Krev Empire 17 systems and counting. Queen Elena didn't turn around. "I wondered when you'd arrive," Elena said quietly. Zira drew her blade, the crystal edge glowing pale blue in the dim light. "You knew?" "I know what desperation looks like, Commander Zira." Elena finally turned, and Zira saw a face much younger than intelligence had suggested. Dark eyes met hers without fear, without pleading. Warlord Thaxus sent his best. "I'm honored. You sabotaged the Tyler negotiations. You armed the rebellion on Keswick 4. You've killed thousands of my people." Zira advanced, weapon raised. "Any last words?" Elena studied her for a long moment. "How many soldiers have you lost under Thaxus's command?" The question stopped Zira cold. "What? Battalions? Fleets? I'm curious how many of your own people died following his orders." Elena's voice remained steady, conversational, as if they were discussing weather patterns instead of murder. "That's none of your concern. The Third Strike Force," Elena continued, ignoring her, "wiped out at the Margrave Belt. The 7th Fleet destroyed defending a mining outpost that turned out to be empty. How do you know those names?" Zira's grip tightened on the blade. "Because I've been studying your war for 3 years, Commander. Not the version Thaxus tells you, the real one." Elena moved to her desk and pulled out a data tablet. "The question isn't how many humans I've killed. It's how many Krev your warlord has sacrificed to get what he wants." Zira's jaw clenched. "Propaganda. Is it?" Elena tapped the screen and turned it toward her. "This is a communication log from Thaxus to his field commanders, dated 2 days before the Margrave Belt ambush. He ordered the Third Strike Force into that sector knowing human ships were waiting. He wanted them destroyed." "You're lying. I have 50 more documents just like it." Elena's voice hardened. "Thaxus has been feeding his own soldiers into slaughter for years, then blaming humanity for the massacres. Every negotiation I've sabotaged, every weapon I've smuggled to rebels, it was because I found proof that your empire was murdering its own people to justify expansion." Zira wanted to strike, wanted to complete her mission and silence this human's poison, but her hand wouldn't move. The names Elena had spoken: Third Strike Force, 7th Fleet, those weren't public knowledge. Zira had lost friends in both units, had mourned them, had sworn to avenge them against the humans who'd ambushed them in deep space. "Show me!" Zira heard herself say. Elena nodded slowly and gestured to a chair. "Sit down, Commander. This is going to take a while." For the next hour, Zira watched her entire reality disassemble. Elena displayed communication logs, tactical orders, intercepted transmissions, all carrying Thaxus's personal encryption signature. The evidence was overwhelming and horrifying. The Margrave Belt hadn't been an ambush. It had been a sacrifice. Thaxus had ordered the Third Strike Force to drop shields and power down weapons, claiming it was a new stealth protocol. Then he'd leaked their position to human patrol groups, ensuring they'd be detected and destroyed. The 7th Fleet had been even worse. They'd been defending an outpost that Thaxus himself had secretly evacuated, then told the fleet to hold position against an incoming human assault. When the humans arrived and found Krev's soldiers defending an empty station, they'd had no choice but to engage. 3,000 Krev died that day. Thaxus used the massacre to push through military funding increases and emergency war powers. Why? Zira's voice came out raw. Why would he kill his own people? "Control," Elena said simply. Fear keeps populations obedient. A distant enemy justifies any action. Thaxus doesn't want to win this war, Commander. He wants it to continue forever, because war is how he maintains absolute power. Zira stared at the data scrolling past, names of soldiers she'd served with, battles she'd thought were heroic last stands, all of it orchestrated, all of it lies. The Keswick 4 rebellion, Zira said slowly. You armed them. After Thaxus ordered orbital strikes on Krev civilian settlements and blamed human terrorist cells, Elena pulled up more files. I gave the Keswick resistance weapons so they could defend themselves against their own government. Thaxus was planning to glass the entire planet and claim humans had deployed a bioweapon. I stopped him. The room felt too small, too quiet. Zira's blade lay on the desk between them, forgotten. If this is true, if any of this is real, then I've been... A soldier following orders, Elena interrupted gently. You're not responsible for what Thaxus has done, but you are responsible for what you do next. Before Zira could respond, her wrist communicator chirped. Her strike team, waiting in the transport ship 3 kilometers above the city. Commander, status report. Target should be eliminated by now. Zira looked at Elena. The human queen sat perfectly still, hands folded. Waiting. Not afraid. Just waiting to see what choice Zira would make. Change of plans, Zira said into the communicator. Target is providing intelligence. I need more time. Silence on the other end. Then, Commander, your orders were explicit. Warlord Thaxus demands immediate confirmation, and I'm telling you I need more time to extract information that could win us the entire sector. Zira kept her voice cold, professional. Stand by. She cut the transmission before they could argue. They'll come for you, Elena said. For both of us. I know. Zira picked up the blade and in one smooth motion slid it into its sheath. How do we stop him? Elena's expression shifted, hope flickering across her features. We expose him. Broadcast everything to the Krev fleet in orbit. Not through official channels. Thaxus controls those. But I have access to emergency frequency bands that every ship monitors. If your people see the truth, they'll think it's human propaganda. Not if it comes from you. Elena stood. You're a decorated commander, Zira. Your service record is legendary. If you tell them what you've found, if you stand beside me and show them the evidence, some will listen. Maybe enough. Zira laughed bitterly. You're asking me to commit treason. I'm asking you to save your people from a warlord who's been using them as currency. Elena moved closer, her voice urgent now. How many more battalions will Thaxus sacrifice? How many more colonies will burn? You can stop this, right now, tonight. The decision should have been impossible. Everything Zira had ever believed, ever fought for, was tied to the Empire, to duty, to orders. But she kept seeing the names scrolling past on Elena's tablet, kept hearing the voices of soldiers she'd commanded, now dead in battles that had been orchestrated slaughter. What do you need from me? Zira asked. Elena exhaled slowly. Your command codes, your testimony, and your trust. You have the first 2. Zira met her eyes. The third you'll have to earn. Fair enough. Elena moved to a communications console hidden behind a false panel. We'll need to move fast. Once your team realizes you're not following orders, they'll report back to Thaxus. We'll have maybe 20 minutes before this whole building is under assault. 15, Zira corrected. My team doesn't wait for confirmations. Elena's fingers flew across the console, establishing connections, bypassing security protocols. Then we'd better make them count. Start recording. Tell your people what you found. Zira stood before the camera, a human queen at her side and prepared to burn down everything she'd ever believed in. The broadcast went live on every emergency channel. Zira spoke clearly, methodically, presenting evidence that couldn't be denied. She showed the communication logs, the tactical orders, the kill counts that didn't match official reports. She named the battles where Krev soldiers had been deliberately sacrificed. She showed Thaxus' own words ordering the deaths of his people. And then she did something that would haunt her forever. She apologized. I followed these orders, Zira said to the camera. I believed we were fighting for survival, for the Empire's future, but we were dying for one man's ambition. Every soldier who fell under my command, every civilian caught in the crossfire, they deserved better than the lies we were fed. Thaxus has betrayed us all. This ends tonight. The transmission ended. Silence filled the room. Then Elena's console erupted with incoming signals. Ships in the Krev fleet were responding, demanding confirmations, asking questions, some calling Zira a traitor and others begging for more proof. The fleet was fracturing in real time. "It's working," Elena breathed. The window exploded inward. Zira tackled Elena to the floor as plasma fire ripped through the room. Her strike team had arrived, rappelling down the building's exterior, and they weren't here to talk. Zira rolled behind the desk, pulling Elena with her as crystal rounds shredded the furniture. "Commander, you've made a terrible mistake." The voice belonged to Karn, her second in command. "Surrender now, and Thaxus might show mercy." "Thaxus doesn't know the meaning of the word," Zira shouted back. She drew her blade and risked a glance over the desk. 4 soldiers, full combat armor, weapons charged, against her and an unarmed human. The odds had been worse before. "Elena, is there another way out of here?" "Service corridor behind the bookshelf." Elena was already moving, shoving aside volumes to reveal a hidden panel. "Go, I'll hold them." "Not a chance." Elena pulled a small plasma pistol from a hidden desk drawer. "This is my planet, Commander. I don't run." Zira couldn't help a grim smile. "Then we fight together." They moved as one. Zira vaulted the desk, blade singing through the air as Karn fired. The crystal round missed by centimeters. Elena fired twice, her shots going wide but forcing the soldiers to scatter. Zira closed the distance with Karn, her blade meeting his rifle in a shower of sparks. "You're protecting a human!" Karn snarled, grappling with her. "I'm protecting the truth!" Zira drove her knee into his midsection and spun him into the line of fire from his own team. They hesitated, and in that moment, Elena's next shot found its mark. 1 soldier went down, but 3 remained, and reinforcements would be coming. Zira could hear boots in the corridor outside. "We need to move!" Elena grabbed Zira's arm and pulled her toward the service corridor. They ran as plasma fire chewed through the walls behind them. The corridor was narrow, dimly lit, designed for maintenance staff. They sprinted through twisting passages as alarms shrieked overhead. Behind them, Karn's voice echoed through the building's communication system. "All units! Commander Zira has defected. She is to be terminated on sight. The human queen is secondary priority. Kill them both." "Your people really don't do things halfway," Elena gasped as they ran. "You wanted my help." "This is what it looks like." Zira checked her wrist display. "The fleet is splitting. Half the ships are powering weapons against the other half. It's chaos up there." "Good chaos or bad chaos?" "Both." They burst through a door into an exterior landing platform. Elena's shuttle sat waiting, engines already warming. Who prepared that? "I always have an exit strategy," Elena said, hitting the boarding ramp controls. "Come on!" They were halfway to the shuttle when the sky opened up. Krev gunships descended from the clouds, their weapons locking onto the platform. But they didn't fire. Instead, other Krev ships dropped into position between them and the platform, shields flaring. "This is Captain Vorn of the Spear of Dawn," a voice crackled over the emergency channel. "Commander Zira, we received your transmission. We're with you. But Thaxus has mobilized loyalist forces. This is going to get bloody." Zira grabbed the communicator from her belt. "Captain, I need you to hold this position. The Queen and I are transmitting more evidence to all ships. Every captain needs to see what Thaxus has done." "Understood, Commander. We'll buy you time." "But hurry. The Warlord's flagship just entered orbit. He's coming for you personally." Above them, the night sky erupted into war. Krev ships fired on each other, their weapons painting the darkness with streams of plasma and crystal fire. Some were defending Elena's position. Others were trying to break through to kill her. The fleet had turned on itself, and Zira was the catalyst. They reached the shuttle and sealed it as rounds impacted the platform. Elena took the pilot's seat and launched them into the chaos above. "Where are we going?" Zira demanded. "The orbital station. It's neutral ground, and it has the strongest broadcast array on the planet." Elena threw the shuttle into a spiral as a gunship locked onto them. "We need to reach every ship in the fleet at once. Show them everything. Make it impossible for Thaxus to spin this." A missile streaked past their viewport. One of the Krev ships defending them took the hit, breaking apart in a flash of white fire. "They're dying for us," Zira whispered. "They're dying for the truth," Elena corrected. "Now help me keep us alive long enough to make it count." Zira moved to the weapons console and began targeting the nearest hostile ship. She'd spent her entire career fighting humans. Now she was fighting her own people to save one. The irony would have been funny if it wasn't so tragic. The orbital station loomed ahead, a massive ring of metal and glass spinning in the void. Ships were converging on it from all directions, some to protect it, others to destroy it. The battle had become a swirling nightmare of weapons fire and debris. Elena threaded the shuttle through the chaos with a pilot's instinct that surprised Zira. They docked on the station's outer ring and ran for the command center, where engineers were frantically trying to keep systems online as the battle raged around them. "We need full broadcast capability," Elena ordered. "Every frequency, every ship in range." The chief engineer, a young woman named Claire, nodded shakily. "It's ready, but if you transmit from here, you'll be painting a target on this entire station." "Damn, they're already shooting at us," Zira said. "Let's give them a reason." Elena uploaded the complete intelligence package. Every document, every communication log, every piece of evidence she'd gathered over 3 years of investigation. Then she turned the camera to Zira. "Tell them," Elena said simply. "Tell them what you saw." Zira faced the galaxy and spoke the words that would either save her people or damn them forever. "This is Commander Zira to all Krev forces. I have committed treason today. I have broken my oath. I have turned against my warlord, and I would do it again, because the alternative is to keep serving a man who sees us as expendable. Warlord Thaxus has murdered thousands of our people to maintain his power. The evidence is in front of you. Every captain, every soldier, every citizen of the Empire needs to see what I've seen. We are not fighting for survival. We are dying for a lie." She paused, gathering her thoughts. "The human standing beside me is not our enemy. She has spent years trying to stop this war because she knew what Thaxus was doing. She tried to save us while our own leader was slaughtering us. That is not propaganda. That is truth. And if we continue down this path, if we keep following a warlord who values power over people, there will be no empire left to save. Choose. Right now. Stand with the truth or die for a lie." The transmission ended. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the warlord's flagship opened fire on the station. The impact threw everyone to the floor. Alarms screamed as atmosphere vented from breached sections. Zira pulled Elena to her feet and they ran for the escape pods as the station began to break apart around them. "The broadcast went through," Claire shouted over the chaos. "Every ship received it. And let's hope it was enough." Elena dragged the engineer toward the evacuation corridor. They were 50 meters from the pods when the ceiling collapsed. Debris rained down, and Zira saw it happening in slow motion, a support beam falling directly toward Elena. Without thinking, she threw herself forward, catching the beam across her shoulders. Pain exploded through her body, but she held it, muscles screaming, giving Elena time to scramble clear. Then someone else was there, helping lift the beam. Captain Vorn and 3 of his crew. Their ship docked in emergency protocol. "Commander, the fleet is breaking!" Vorn shouted. "Half the ships have powered down weapons. They're demanding Thaxus stand trial. And the other half?" Zira gasped as they freed her from the debris. "Still loyal. But the numbers are shifting every second. Your broadcast is spreading to other sectors. The whole Empire is watching." They made it to the pods and launched just as the station's core reactor went critical. The explosion lit up the orbit like a dying star, and in its light, Zira saw the impossible. The Krev fleet was standing down. Ship after ship was powering weapons offline, broadcasting surrender codes. The loyalists were outnumbered 3-1 now, and they knew it. All except one ship. The Warlord's flagship continued its approach, weapons hot, targeting the escape pods. He's going to kill us all, Elena said quietly. Not if his own people stop him first. Zira opened a channel to the fleet. All ships, this is Commander Zira. Warlord Thaxus is targeting unarmed escape pods. This is who he is. This is what he's always been. Stop him. Now. For a heartbeat, nothing moved. Then the Spear of Dawn positioned itself between the pods and the flagship. Then another ship joined it. And another. Within seconds, 24 Krev vessels formed a wall of armor and shields. Thaxus, this is Captain Vorn. Stand down. The war is over. The flagship's weapons charged to full power. Thaxus's voice came over the open channel, filled with rage. You're all traitors, every single one of you. I built this empire. I made you strong. You made us monsters, Zira said quietly. And we're done. The flagship fired. But instead of targeting the pods, the shots went wide, missing deliberately. On the view screen, Zira saw crew members on the flagship's bridge physically restraining Thaxus, pulling him away from the command console. This is Commander Hallex of the flagship Dominion, a new voice announced. Warlord Thaxus is under arrest. All forces cease fire. This conflict is over. The battle ended not with an explosion, but with silence. Ships hung in space, weapons cold, waiting. Across the Empire, billions watched the footage that Zira and Elena had broadcast. They saw the truth. They saw the murders. They saw what their leader had become. And they chose differently. Zira's pod docked with the Spear of Dawn 20 minutes later. Elena was right behind her, and when they stepped onto the bridge, the Krev crew stood at attention. Not hostile, not welcoming. Just waiting. Commander, Vorn said carefully. What are your orders? Zira looked at Elena and then back at her people. Bring Thaxus to trial. Contact the human government and propose immediate peace negotiations. And find every family who lost someone in these manufactured battles. They deserve to know the truth about how their loved ones died. And you, Commander? Vorn asked. What happens to you? That's not my decision anymore. Zira met Elena's eyes. I've committed treason, broken every oath, turned my weapons on my own fleet. Whatever punishment comes, I'll accept it.
Elena stepped forward. Or you could help build something better.
The Empire needs new leadership, people who value truth over power, soldiers who know the difference between duty and blind obedience. You want me to lead? Zira shook her head. After everything I've done? I want you to help heal what Thaxus broke, Elena said firmly. Not as a warlord, as someone who chose to do the right thing even when it cost everything. That's the kind of leader both our people need. Across the bridge! The crew was nodding. Outside, the fleet waited, and somewhere in the darkness between stars, civilizations that had been at war for a decade held their breath. Zira looked at her hands. They'd held weapons for so long. Maybe it was time they held something else. All right, she said. Let's try peace. The human queen smiled. The alien commander nodded, and above a planet that had nearly burned in someone else's ambition, two species that had been enemies took their first steps toward something different. Something better. It wouldn't be easy. Trust would take years to rebuild. The scars would last generations. But in that moment, watching the fleet stand down and the war finally end, Zira understood what Elena had been fighting for all along. Not victory, not surrender, just a chance. A chance to be better than the worst things they'd done. A chance to prove that even in the darkest moments, even when everything screamed for violence, there was another choice. And sometimes, all it took was one person refusing to pull the trigger. One question that challenged everything. One truth spoken loud enough that silence became impossible. Thaxus had built an empire on fear. Zira and Elena would build a peace on something stronger. The future waited. And for the first time in a very long time, it looked like hope.